We'll call the meeting to order. We'll ask Mr. Ed to lead us in prayer. Good prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Miss Miller,
Here.
Miss Harris will be absent. Mr. St. Columbia, absent. Mr. Etherly.
Here.
Miss Davis.
Here.
Dr. Miller. 4 present, 2 absent.
Ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Mayor and Madam Clerk, we're here tonight for a regular council meeting. The single agenda item is the water rate study, and we have the CEO of Arkansas Rural Water, Mr. Dennis Sternberg, and his assistant, Mr. Chris Harris, and they're going to present the rate study and entertain any questions you may have about the rate study. And one of the things I want to say before they come, of course, we're required in 2026 to do a rate study to comply with Act 605, but we're doing this one now. And I suggest we do one next year and try to make it an annual thing because you're going to hear in the rate study presentation, there's some soft spots we have with our water department, and we need to kind of tighten those up. At this time, we ask Mr. Sternberg or Mr. Harris or both to come forward. They got the rate study he's going to present to you. I sent you the draft that I had marked up. But he'll give you one that's not marked up.
All right.
Yeah, just a second.
Okay. No.
I waited 30 years.
What you been 30 years?
This is actually an updated one. I made one change, but I want to go. First of all, again, my name is Dennis Sternberg with Arkansas Rural Water. You're getting an updated handout on the rate study. We made a change in talking with Arkansas Natural Resources. You guys had actually done an emergency loan back in 2023 on the water system, and I just went ahead and included that in. So that'll be the only significant change for the rate study from the original one I done and talked with the mayor about at the time. One of the things we look at when we do a rate study under Act 605, as Chief of Staff has mentioned, it requires any city that has water and sewer and does one audit to look at both water and wastewater and do a rate review on that itself. With that, we asked the city to provide us the raw data to run the numbers, to be able to run the numbers, and we look at a total year, January 1 through December 31st of a year. I think it was 2023 we looked at, the latest year. This rate study has been done in compliance with Arkansas Natural Resources and Act 605. We used to do a very simple rate study, but Act 605 has changed a lot of things. One of the things that's changed is you have to have it done by a approved rate study provider. Arkansas Rural Water is one of the approved rate study providers in the state. You can go to Arkansas Natural Resources Commission and look at their website, and they'll have a list of approved rate study providers. It varies. There's probably about 30 or more on there. It's from engineers, CPAs, technical assistance providers like us, Community Unlimited, different ones are on there. You can select whoever you want. The other thing is when you look at the rate study, you have to also meet a debt service coverage ratio of a 1.1. You also have to fund a refurbishment and replacement account. So you'll hear a lot about the debt service coverage ratio, the refurbishment and replacement account as we go through this. But I asked Mr. Turner to provide us the numbers. He provided us the numbers for the year to look at. And with that, we started doing our calculations. The first page, and you'll see this dated July the 2nd, 2024. City of Helena-West, Arkansas Water and Sewer Utilities, Arkansas Rural Water Association reference water rate and sewer study based on 2022 year reports. It wasn't 2023. Meeting the rules of Act 605 of 2021. When they passed the law, they gave the authority to Arkansas Natural Resources to be the one to enforce the act. They set a set of rules to go by, and everybody has to comply. So you as a city have to meet that 1.1, you have to meet that refurbishment replacement account, and then we have to, whoever your rate study provider is look at all that and figure it in. So the front page, the main thing I'd like to say is I thank you for trusting us to do it. We've been doing this since 1977. It's not our first rate study. It's not our first rate study under Act 605. We have submitted several for utilities across the state, and they've submitted them to Arkansas Natural Resources. Chris and myself do the majority of the rate studies. But the key to any rate study, and this has been the problem from the very beginning, before you look at a rate study is only as good as the information we receive. So understand that. If you give us good information, we'll give you a good rate study. Another rate study provider will give you a good rate study. If we get bad information, it's not a good rate study. So I remind everybody, and if you look at that front page, the second paragraph, it talks about that. We got to have good information. Hopefully we got good information. Mr. Turner spent a lot of time talking with me back and forth before he accumulated all the numbers and provided it to us. So I feel pretty comfortable about it. But page 1 just referenced the law, Act 605. Page 2, if you want to turn to it, we start looking at the refurbishment and replacement account. Refurbishment and replacement account is a new requirement that you have to fund 5% of your total revenues. We're looking at water first, and then we'll look at wastewater or sewer second. But 5% of your total revenues. When we looked at your information, you had metered water revenue sales from meters of $1,804,588. You had non-metered revenue of $150,680 for a combined revenue of $1,955,267 for your water. We have to set aside 5%. 5% of that amount equals $97,763. That refurbishment replacement account is similar to a depreciation account. The original law said you couldn't spend it unless the council met and approved it, and it had to be over $1,000 expenditure. In 2023, we went back to the legislators and said that's too cumbersome for utilities to have to deal with it. It's supposed to be set aside for their needs and when they need to use it. It shouldn't be that way. So we passed Act 545 of 2023 that took that away. So that's not in the law anymore. It is your money to spend as you see needed on the water system when you need it. So understand that. You don't have to have a council meeting to vote to approve that. The original law said that, but Act 545 amended that law. But your refurbishment replacement account will be 5% every year of your total annual revenue. You will fund into an account for needs when you have leaks, pumps go out, and things of that nature. Any questions about the refurbishment replacement account? If you'll turn to page 3, that's where we started gathering your information. If you go to 3A, the top part, 1 and 2, talks about Act 605 and the requirements. The water rate study findings starting under 3A, existing debt, principal. You had $251,205 you spent to pay a debt or debts for the water system. We added that $100,000 emergency money that you borrowed at 2.55% for 20 years And the annual payment for that is $6,579. So your new annual debt, and that second loan is principal and interest together. It brings your new total to $257,784.75. Your debt on your water system that you're making annually. That's all your different loans you might have that's accumulated for the water. Your yearly interest is $19,452. Total amount of water sold to your customers is 378,436,000 gallons. You're looking at a number that says 378,436, but we're calculating everything in a cost per thousand. So we already took that thousand, divided into the total millions to come up with the 378,436. Because when you bill and you charge, your rates are what? On a cost per thousand. So this will give us a number what the new cost per thousand will be further in the rate study. The astounding thing you need to look at is the next line. You pumped from your water treatment plant or plants 1,428,000 or 428,034,000. Total number of customers. Yes, sir.
Can you repeat that for the listening audience?
Well, it'll be highlighted again, but understand, you sold 378,436,000 to all your customers, your 3,868 water customers. But your wells and your water plant produced 1,428,034,000 gallons. We'll talk more about that, but I just want to highlight that, and it's a good point you bring that up. You have 3,868 customers at the time we looked at this. It could go up or could go down. Your metered water revenue, again, was $1,804,588. Your non-metered revenue is $150,680 for a total revenue for the water, $1,955,267. Your total operating expenses, $2,697,000. You have an income of $1,955,000. You have an expense of $2,697,000. You have a payment required to reserve account of $58,658 a year. You go to the next page, 4. 5% of the total revenue, again, looking at the refurbishment replacement account, is $97,763. So that's the information we use. Now we go to the next section to calculate what you have to break even. You have to generate $3,131,331 to break even. Your calculated debt service was $7.09 before we added that $100,000 loan at 2.55% for 20 years. And now your new debt service is $7.23 per customer per month. You add that into the minimum bill, it'll guarantee that you generate the number of dollars you need to make your payments to your lenders. Your calculated operating cost per thousand, remember, we calculate per thousand. Your calculated cost per thousand is $7.39 per thousand. You have a shortage of revenue of $1,176,063.
Shortage of revenue?
Shortage under the water only, because we'll get into the sewer here in a minute. All right. With the emergency loan of $100,000, your average monthly water bill, when we take all those numbers, we average it out by your number of customers. Some customers use less, some use more, but we do an average. Your average bill is $67.44 on water. Calculated minimum rate allowing 1,000 gallons and funding the refurbishment replacement account. The new recommended minimum bill is we take your debt, and we said $7.09. It's actually $7.23 now. You'll see on the next line below that. The original one was $7.09 plus $7.39. You give 1,000 gallons in your minimum bill. Your minimum bill would be $14.48. With that $100,000 loan, it'll be the $723 for that total debt, $739 for the cost per thousand. Bring your minimum bill to $14.62. Break even. Now, when we talked about how much water we sold and how much we pumped, the very bottom line, calculated yearly average water loss. 73.5% of your water is being lost in your distribution system. 73.5%. That's the issue. We know we have problems. That's why Chris is back down here today to look at your system, to try to help identify where we're at. But that's the problem. That tells me one thing. You have a neglected system. We've talked about it before. Aging infrastructure, neglection of maintenance. You know, you've got to keep up on the leaks. I know it seems like you're going nowhere, but you got to keep up with them, because why? Your water plant is struggling now. A year ago, we were over here when we all went down with water over here, and we didn't have the water in the West Helena side. So again, you're running 20, 21, 22 hours a day. We're with leaks still happening. Long term, we need to talk about that after we get through the rate study, but there's issues, and that's the highlighted issue. That's the one thing the state wants to see. What is the efficiencies of systems? But I want to bring that out, 73.5%. You turn to the next page, I talked to you about a debt service coverage ratio. Every system has to have a minimum of 1.1. The way you figure that, you take your net operating income, subtract your expenses, or your total revenue, subtract your expenses. And when you do that here, you have a negative 742,406. You divide that by your annual debt, $270,657. That gives you a negative 2.74. What do we say we had to have? At least a positive 1.1. So we do the next block below that. We do a new debt service coverage ratio calculation based on the rates being implemented and generating the revenue that we say will get you to the break even. So your new revenue will be $3,124,753 minus your expenses of $2,697,674. $2,697,674 leaves you with a net operating income of $427,079. You divide that by your total debt, that's $270,657, and you end up with a positive 1.57 debt service coverage ratio, meaning you've met that 1.1 requirement. You go to the next page. Now we start looking at the sewer findings. You have a yearly principal of $8,504 on your sewer. You have an interest of $6,321. Your total gallons of water sold are on the wastewater side is 238,556,000. Again, you don't have as many customers on the wastewater as you do on water. Most cities don't, because everybody's not on sewer. You also have some additional outside wholesale customers you sell to, are one anyway. But your number of active customers on sewer at the time we got these numbers was 3,631. Your total revenue from metered sales was $920,714. Your expenses was $626,161. You had to put into reserve per year, per your loan requirements, $31,682. Payment to refurbishment and replacement account, take 5% of the $920,714, and it leaves you $45,035 that you need to be setting aside for the sewer refurbishment and replacement account. You go to the next page. This is where it starts telling you what you have to generate to break even. You have to generate $718,903. Your debt per customer is only $1.69 $2.07 per customer per month. Your sewer cost per thousand is $2.82 per month, per thousand. You actually have a surplus under the sewer of $201,811 based on the numbers provided. Your average bill per month would be $16.50. Your minimum bill, new minimum bill, you take the $1.07 under the debt plus the $2.82 for the cost per thousand, gives you $3.89 for a minimum bill, break even. And everything after that, $2.82. Current sewer rates are $9.27 for the first thousand and $1.82 for the next for everything after that per thousand. But you have needs on the sewer too that's probably not been addressed. So, you know, don't think you're in great shape on the sewer. You're in better than what you thought originally, but it's not the best. Going to the next page, you look at your debt service coverage ratio on sewer. We take the $920,714 in revenue, subtract the $626,161 in expenses, leaves you $294,553. You divide that by your debt, your principal and interest, which is $14,825. It gives you a 19.8 debt service coverage ratio. That's excellent. So your rates are adequate per the rate study requirements. Now, I'm sure, as I mentioned, you have needs on the sewer that need to be addressed, and you probably haven't been doing that just because of the water situation. The next page gives you a summary of the water and sewer rate study findings. Your last adjusted rates were October 1, 2019. Your minimum bill within the city, 5/8 inch meter is $16.20 for the first thousand. 3/4 inch is $16.20 for the first thousand. A 1 inch meter is $26.58. A 2 inch meter is $63.20. 3 inch meter is $82.10. 4 inch meter is $164.50. 6 inch meter is $209.72. 8 inch meter is $330.19. You presently charge $2.73 for everything after the minimum per thousand. Then you have an outside rate, and you can look at that based on the size of the meter, and you still charge $2.73. Again, from our records, it shows the present sewer rates were last adjusted on August the 13th, 2019. The water was done in October 1, 2019. Your minimum bill on the sewer is $9.27 and $1.82 per thousand. Your new water and sewer rate study findings: water, new recommended break-even rates. Take the debt. Your debt plus your cost per thousand was $14.48. All over would be $739 a thousand. Sewer is $389 for the first thousand, $282 per thousand after that. That's what the rate study showed. New water rate revenue. Utilities sold at 378,436,000 gallons from January 1 through December 31st. Water utilities showed to have 3,268 residential customers, 599 commercial customers, and 1 wholesale customer, for a total, excuse me, a total of 3,869 customers. Your minimum bill varies on the size of meter, so it'll all be different based on the size of meter. All customers are on the same cost per thousand after the minimum. Your residential customers of 3,268, they use 214,713,000 gallons. You divide that by 12 months, divide that by the number of customers, 3,268, shows an average of 5,475 gallons per customer per month. That's an average. That doesn't mean it's exact, because everybody uses less or more, and that's where the number is made up. Turn to the next page. You take that 5,475 gallons per month average per customer. That the first 1,000 gallons based on your minimum rate is $16.20. And then we charge $7.39 for the next 4,475 gallons, generates $33.07 for a total of $49.27. You take that by the number of your customers, 3,200 $1,261,068. That equals $161,014 per month it should generate. Times 12 months will generate $1,932,168. Your commercial users, 599. They used 136,035,000. Divided by the 12 months, divided by the 599 customers, their average usage is 18,925 gallons. The first 1,000, based on the 1620 minimum bill, everything after that is 739, 17,925 would generate you $132.46 for a combined total per customer of commercial per month, $148.66 average. Take that times your 599 customers will generate $89,047. Take that times your 12 months in a year will generate $1,068,564. You have one wholesale customer, Long Lake Water Association. In their contract, it's not to exceed 3 million gallons per month. The monthly average usage per customer under the wholesale customer, they used a total of 27,686,000 gallons. Divided by the 12 months, leaves you 2,307,000 gallons a month. They're under their 3 million. You take that, divided by 1,000, that 27,686 leaves you 27,686. Your total revenue for wholesale customer last year was $37,017. You divide that by the total gallons, 27,686, that's $1.38 a thousand. We're saying that 27 million for the year, 27,686,000 can be no less than $7.39, just like your customers. That would generate $204,599 a year. Average cost per month to the Long Lake would be $17,049. If you look at the next paragraph down, shows you the new water rate projected metered revenue. We said your projected residential annual revenue will generate $1,932,168 per year. Your projected commercial will generate $1,068,564. Your wholesale will generate $204,599. Your total projected annual revenue will generate $3,205,331. Your present water metered revenue is $1,804,588, which would project you a difference in additional revenue of $1,400,743, which would more than cover the break even. Any questions? I know that's a lot of numbers real quick.
Could we
Go-
go back to page 9? I just have a question because I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding this.
Yeah.
So right now, our customers who go over their allotted, if I understand correctly, 1,000 gallons, it's at the $2.73 after that.
Right.
Right. This new
New rate per
study, the
thousand.
new rate is requiring everything after that 1,000 to be $7.30.
You're exactly right.
Okay. The only thing that makes me stop and think about that for a second, though, is that we have a lot of customers who have leaks that I don't know are always their fault. And so that concerns me that, say, for instance, if they have a leak out in their yard that they don't know about, or they rent from somebody and their landlord doesn't do their due diligence or whatever, then they could potentially end up with a pretty hefty bill with this. What is in place? What will we do to ensure that before we ask our customers to pay that a $5 difference? I mean, what do we do? How do we?
I will tell you how water systems across the state and the nation do it. Once it goes through that meter, you're responsible. The landlord or the customer, the renter or the homeowner. Now, Is it cheaper for me to go hire, if I'm a renter, to go hire a plumber if I can't get my landlord to do it? Probably so. Because why? Your water bill, also your sewer bill is based off your water usage. So they'll both go up. So understand that. But you've got to educate your public to say and hold landlords accountable, saying you've got to do your due diligence. You've got a problem. Or you move out of that house and go to another place. I mean, I'm just telling you, once it goes through the meter, it's no longer the water system's responsibility. I understand your concern. Don't get me wrong. But that's an issue that every system deals with some places. I mean, and the worst deal is landlords in a lot of cases ignore it. Say, well, I'm not worried about it. Don't hire a plumber and go out and fix it.
I mean, because you said back here, and I'm not saying I'm against it.
Oh, I
I'm
understand.
saying that you are, with your study, you showed us that we are,
Upside down.
yeah, we're very upside down. Like let me find the number. We're losing 73% of our water.
Right.
And so if
But understand, you're losing it. If it's going through the meter, it's being accounted for. You're losing it through either, and you got newer meters here in the city. Is that not right? So it's, the meters are probably accurate. You're losing the water from your water plant to the meters. Your water plant has backwash water. You backwash your filters. That's part of it. We'll talk more about that when we get towards the end. But we also have leaks. The fire department uses water, but people will say the fire department uses a lot of water. That's not your problem. You've got leaks. You've got an aging infrastructure. You've got galvanized lines and they old service lines that need to all be replaced. I mean, when you talk to your water people, they'll tell you the leaks they fixed are probably on galvanized or lead service lines. And the lead service lines has another pot of money totally available to replace them. But that's not where we're at now. We're looking at the whole picture. I don't disagree with your concern, but how to handle it, the water system is responsible up into the meter, through the meter. Private property, it's the property owner. Any other questions? If you got questions, now it's time to ask. All right, we talked about the 378 million gallons you sold. You had a total of 3,869 customers. The minimum bill is different based on the size of meter on that. We talked about the total amount of revenue it would generate with the new water rates. Now we'll look at the sewer. Sewer rate findings for break-even amount, sewer new recommended break-even amount. This is just recommended from the rate study, and then we'll talk what the final recommendations are. It's $3.89 for the first 1,000 and $2.82 per thousand. Right now, you're charging $1.82 per thousand. So there's $1 on every 1,000 that you're losing to break even on over the minimum. So remember that as well. Your residential and commercial customers were 3,631. Monthly average figured to be 5,475. When you calculate that out, right now your minimum bill is $927, and then at $2.82 per thousand, the new rate will generate $12.61 for a combined minimum monthly average of $21.88 on sewer. Times your 3,631 customers would generate $79,446 a month. Times your 12 months will generate $953,352 per year for sewer. Right now, if we did that, we'd have $953,352. Your present rate generated $920,714. So you'd have an additional yearly revenue of $32,638. Your new projected water and sewer rate total annual revenue, we have the water at $3,205,331. The new sewer projected rate of $953,352. Your non-rate revenue for the city was 150,679. Gives you a total combined water and sewer revenue of $4,309,362. Present combined water and sewer revenue is $2,875,981. So you'd have an additional revenue of $1,433,381. If you remember, from page 4, we had a shortage on water of $1,176,063. So you're generating $1,433,000 additional dollars. Now, the other thing the rate studies providers are required to do, we have to do a 5-year projection of your revenue and expenses based on the rate study findings. Under our rate study findings, what we have found over the years, ANRC agrees, the health department agrees, systems don't like to raise rates. That's always been a concern. Let's just break even and go on. Hopefully we can get by. But that's what gets a lot of systems in problems. The cost of living every year is going up. So we recommend after you get your rates set to where they need to be, every January you do a small 3% increase on your cost per thousand after the minimum. The reason for that, customers accept a small increase, plus your expenses are going up. So in these calculations, we did a 3% on revenue and a 3% on expenses to show you what the additional revenue would do, what the additional expenses would do, and you still meet your debt service requirement of at least 1.1. When you combine the water and sewer together, we have a revenue of $4,309,362 the first year. We have a refurbishment and replacement account of $215,468 that you will be funding, and you'll have monies to fix leaks. So understand expenses, $3,323,836. Your principal and interest combined is $291,871, but you have a debt service coverage ratio of 3.3. You take your expenses from your revenue, and that gives you the net operating income, and you divide that by your debt to give you the debt service coverage ratio. Year 2, it goes to $4,438,682 in revenue. Your refurbishment and replacement account goes up because your revenues is going up to $221,932, and that's based on the previous year's revenue. That's how you figure in your budget, so you know what to budget for. Your expenses are going up to $3,423,551, and your principal and interest is staying the same unless you borrow more money. You borrow more money, that goes back into your debt, and then we have to do the calculation again. But you have a 3.3 combined with the new rates, if you implement everything, that will generate that amount of debt service coverage ratio, meaning the lenders is not afraid to loan you money if they have to, because you're sustainable on your rates. And then year 3 goes to $4,571,000, and you can look at it all the way across. The only thing that changes is if you have to borrow money, then you have to figure that back into your debt, your principal and interest. The records also show one of the things under Act 605, they want to know how much cash on hand every utility has. Your record showed to have $546,605. The reason for that, they want to see how long you could operate without people paying their bill, is what they tell me. But your expenses is $3,323,836. You divide that by 365 days in a year. Your daily operational cost for the water and sewer is $9,106. That's everything. Cash balance could cover 60 days. Your goal is 1 year. The larger the system, the more cash balances you need. So it's showing you a thin line you're on. You go to page 13, that's the recommendations that we're making. We recommend you leave all minimum bills at the present rates and increase the cost per thousand to $7.39 for water. Minimum bill on sewer would be $9.27. Leave the minimum bill as is and increase the cost per thousand to $2.82. Helena-West Town Water and Sewer Utilities rates show from the information requested to perform the water and sewer rate study that rates need to be adjusted. It is recommended to perform a rate study each year to ensure your utility, water and sewer, is generating enough revenues to be sustainable. Act 605 of 2021 requires any utility that the rate study's findings need to be increased must increase your rates within 1 year. Must increase whatever the rate study provider findings are. You no longer get to say what it's going to be. The law says you'll have to implement whatever the rate study findings are, but they give you 1 year to implement it. Or if it's less than 50% increase. If it's more than a 50% increase, they allow you to do it in 2 years. The water rate increase for more than 50%, and this is more than 50%, the city council should increase the water rate by 50% of the total cost per thousand in a 2 year period. So you're not hitting everybody at one time to that $7.39. You'll do it in a 2 year period. I'd continue to use the present minimum bills at the present rate to increase the rates annually in January of each year by 3% on the minimum bill and the cost per thousand by 3% to try to keep up with the inflation. Next page shows you the first year what our recommendations are. You leave the minimum bills as is, and you increase everything over per thousand to $5.06. So you're going from $2.73 to $5.06 per thousand the first year. The recommended inside city customer bill for 4,000 gallons, and 4,000 gallons is the standard. Everybody looks at what's it cost for 4,000 gallons. The recommended inside customer bill, inside the city customer bill, will be $31.38. The present rate inside the customer bill for 4,000 gallons is $24.39. So you'll have an increase inside the city customer bill of $6.99 a month. The second year, outside the city, we go up to $5.06 as well. And theirs will go up $6.99 per month, average. Your wholesale rate will go from $2.73 to $5.06 per thousand the first year. Your second year is when you go to keep the minimums the same and go to the $7.39. And you'll go up another $6.99 per month to get you where you need to be. That's on the average for 4,000 gallons. The outside of the city will go to $7.39, and then the wholesale, the second year, will go to $7.39. I would leave all meter size groups at their set minimums since they are already above the new minimum bill required. The water rate cost per thousand gallons over the minimum bill will increase from $2.73 to $5.06 per thousand per year, per thousand gallons the first year. And in the second year, the cost will go per thousand gallons will increase from $5.06 to $7.39. Your new sewer recommended bill will be $9.27. Your minimum bill will stay the same. All over will go to $2.82, and it will not be phased in. It will be immediate. It should be remembered, the city hasn't raised rates since 2019. The cost of living has continued to increase each of those years. I recommended to increase cost per thousand annually by at least 3% to keep up with the rising costs of your system, or you will slowly be falling behind in needed revenue. Small rate increases customers will accept easier than major rate increases. Helena-West Town Water produced $1,428,034,000 for the 12-month period. sold 378,436,000, which shows the water loss to be 73.5% per year. All systems are going to have water loss due to the age of the system, miles of line, and meters that have slowed. What did we just say earlier in the meeting? You've replaced the meters, so I feel good about the meters. They're probably accurate. But everything else goes back to your aging system, your infrastructure. And it's just facts. I mean, the numbers tell the story. The city must have a consistent disconnect policy. You can raise rates all you want. If you're not going to disconnect people when they don't pay their bill, you're making it harder on the ones that's paying the bills because they're the ones covering it. You cannot carry $800,000 on your books as bad debt. You have to be fair and consistent to everybody. It's not easy, but that's the only way to make things work. Because you can keep setting rates all you want if you're not going to charge the people and collect for it. That's the only way to do it. And that's the one thing I've learned in all my 45 years of doing this. And I've talked to many utilities in all those years. That's the one policy that you have to hold stern to. The bill is due on due date. If you don't pay it, they add a 10% penalty. I'm sure they do that here. And if you don't do it by the 25th, you're disconnected. That's why your deposits need to be looked at. What is your charge for deposits? Most systems have a flat rate for deposits for homeowners and renters. Different. Why is there a difference? Normally, the homeowners is going to pay the bill. The renters are the ones that can move off. There's actually a law in the state that we passed, I want to say in 2005, where if they move from your system to another system and you find out where they're at, all you have to do is contact that system and say, Dennis Sternberg left Helena-West, Helena own a bill of $30, $70, whatever it is. The law says the new utility will shut you off until you satisfy that bill. It's been through the Attorney General's office and it's been upheld. The Attorney General says it's the best thing ever happened and utilities need to use it. We had to go back because the Attorney General said a water bill is water. So we had to go back and amend the law and put water and sewer. But we did that in the next session. Now the municipal league asked for trash. If you're a city and you want to put trash on it, you can do that. So that's on there. If another sewer system is on your water and it's a public system, they can actually notify you now and say you have to shut off my customer because they're not paying my sewer bill. The laws have changed and they're out there. But you have to be fair and consistent. Set your policy and be fair and consistent. Because who are they going to holler to but the employees when they come in to pay the bill? Your front office is where they're going to holler. But be fair and consistent and back your employees up. That's the policy. So I would encourage you to remember that. Biggest issue on the next paragraph, I see the city needs to take immediate action on is the need to increase rates and to start replacing all galvanized water lines with new PVC pipe and disconnect the old galvanized lines and run new service lines from the PVC line to the meter boxes. Abandon the old galvanized line by cutting and capping them off completely from the system. Don't leave them there if you run a new line down there, that old galvanized line. Disconnect it, completely dismantle it. Because the leaks are still going to occur on that main line if you don't disconnect it. That's the biggest thing I see problems. A lot of time engineers will say, well, we're going to put in 5 miles of PVC pipe to replace all this older pipe. Well, they go in there and they do that. Well, they hire the contractor and then they never disconnect. And then you're left with the leaks still happening. Make sure when that happens, when you hire an engineer for your line replacements, that is part of it. Cut and cap. Do away with that. There's where your problem is. If you don't, you're still going to have that 73.5% loss. And I've seen it happen too many times. I just warn you, make sure you hold them responsible on that. Asset management plan. The new thing under the rates, under the law, you have to do an asset management plan when you submit your rates. The first rate studies were due July 1, 2024 for all systems, 500 connections and below. I can tell you right now, they have covered my office up, Chris's office, our emails, our phones, because they waited to the last minute. They didn't meet the requirement. And we are backed up big time doing rate studies and getting good information. That's the other problem. And we make several phone calls to make sure they understand that this can't be right, because we can look at them and tell you it's not right. You pump more water. If I seen yours the first time I seen it, I wanted to make sure. I had a history knowing that you had a big water loss problem. I didn't realize it was to the magnitude it was. But you definitely have a major problem there. But those types of things you need to track and make sure. That's why we say do an annual rate study. You need to know what's going on in your system. There's trends you can see start climbing, and you need to address it. Oh, I'm sorry. But the asset management plan is something you have to put together as a city on all your infrastructure. And it's going to ask you about 6 or 7 different questions on each one. When was it originally installed? What did it cost? How many size of lines you got? 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 6 inch? Are they all PVC? They galvanized? They ductile iron? They want to know what the life expectancy is of that system. Most lines are, when you borrow money from the federal government, you get a loan from USDA, it's 40 years. That's basically the life cycle of your system. When you get it paid off, your system is like a new car. It was new when you got it, but now it's not and needs to be replaced. Your infrastructure needs to be replaced. Have a long-range plan. Lay out the priorities. You know, as I mentioned a year ago, we was over here because we lost the whole water system in West Helena. You know, we're struggling today. Hell, I don't want my guys to be over here the 4th of July. You don't want to have your people out working all the time. But we got to watch what's going on. And you got to stay on top of it. Fixing leaks are important. But the rate study findings, based on the figures your system provided for this rate study, it shows water and sewer rates will need to be adjusted. This is on page 15 of the bottom paragraph. Also adjust rates annually for the 3%. To meet the revenue needs for your water system and meet the rules pertaining to Act 605 of 2021. This will allow your utility to remain sustainable, water and wastewater utility into the future. Rate increases are never taken lightly, but small increases are accepted a lot more easily than large increases by your customers. The final page, 16, is any rate study provider that does a rate study has to submit a certification page saying we have complied with Act 605. We looked at your operation and maintenance, your debt service, your required reserves, required replacement and refurbishment account, additional capital expenses, annual audit or agreed upon procedures, all annual expenses and all annual revenues. And that's what Mr. Turner provided me when I started working on this. I'd be glad to answer any questions on that. But right now, I would tell you, knowing the condition of your system today, you have many leaks still going on. If the manpower you have isn't adequate, which I don't think it is, then go back to hiring your contractors and getting them paid to get that leaks fixed. You can't afford, you're in the summertime right now, the heat of the summer, the demand on your water system is going to be its greatest. Don't lose this system. You know, ANRC asked me to hand out something as well in regard to what you've been approved for. This is what the commission has approved that on loans. It's not grandfathered. This is what they've done by loans. What it says, commission on recipient, on the left-hand side is Helena-West Helena. But if you go to the very bottom of that, Helena-West Helena emergency loan was done on July the 12th, 2023. of $100,000 at 2.55%. That's what I figured in your rate study. It's in there. So you can make that payment. Helena-West Water on February the 18th was approved for $11 million loan at 4% for 20 years. There's money there. Nobody wants to borrow. But in a time of emergency, you got to do what you got to do. You also have a $100,000 emergency loan done February the 28th, 2024. Remember when the water system went down in the cold weather? We was over there and helped you get that back up and running, finding the leaks and isolating off. We still have, I don't know how many customers of Helena-West on Barton Alexa water. So the demand on your system right now, we have less customers than we've ever had, and we still can't keep up. We have an issue, and it goes back to the distribution system in the plant. And of course, we lost the well. So it's a combination of everything. You know, I'd ask you tonight, where are you at on your new well? I hadn't heard, and I'm sure every time you drill a well, everything don't turn out fantastic. So I don't.
Yeah, today they came back, last couple of days, started. Second day of the process on the web.
Well, I would encourage them to try to get it as quickly as possible. You need water. You have leaks. You have a big portion of your system, customers on another water system right now. So you're paying that money to Barton Alexa for the water they're selling to your customers. Think about all that. That's why it's so important to get control of all your leaks you can. Get as many contractors you can, your local contractors. But you need help. You're bleeding. You're in ICU again. I hate to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the facts. You know, I'd reach out to ANRC. Can you get that 100,000 emergency money? Normally everything is set for what you originally told them you needed it for. I don't know whether that's for line work. It might be for work in the plant. But I'm certain you can convince them at a time of need, we can change the scope of work to get the money. But the first thing you really need to push is get you an engineer hired and get you a priority list and get the plans moving through the health department and ANRC. This is not going to get better. My fear is we go down. I don't want people out of water. This is summertime. It's the highest demand we got on this system. And again, we've got a big portion of your system. I say big portion. I don't know the exact numbers. A couple hundred customers off of your West Helena system on Barton Alexa at least. It's crunch time. You're going to have to spend money. Nobody wants to spend it, but you ain't got no choice. I'm tired of preaching, so I mean, I'll back down. I'll answer any questions you might have, but you need to get on top of it. If you have any questions on the rate study, if not, I thank you.
As it relates to $11 million that you just discussed,
Yes, sir.
should we consider that and adopt a new rates?
When anytime you borrow additional money, the only one that's figured in there is that 2.55 for 20 years. Anything else will have to go back into the rates. I didn't figure it because I don't know what you're going to do. I'm just telling you, you have to do something. And then the ANRC will tell me, Dennis, figure another rate. Or they'll tell you what your rates are going to have to go based on that loan, based on your number of customers, based on the length of the note.
But Mr. Thunberg, just so everybody's clear, the 11 million you speak of is an approved amount, but we have not received any of it.
No, you can't receive it until you submit something.
Right.
You've got to submit drawings, plans, and amounts. That's why an engineer is so important. We don't need to keep kicking the can down. You've got to get an engineer to lay out the priorities and the long-range plan for West Helena. That is the priority right now. Helena's not in the best shape water system, but it's not in a crisis as we are, but it could be tomorrow. That's, you know, I just can't stress it enough. That's where you're at. Action needs to be moving. First thing I would do would reach out to ANRC on that 100,000 and say, scope of work is fixing leaks. We need to pay contractors to get these leaks fixed to try to maintain. Get your engineer hired. I'm certain you had to do an RFQ, request for qualifications. I don't know where you're at in that process. Hopefully you're looking at that and selecting an engineer, but you need somebody to move. You need somebody first, and then you need to impress the importance of expediting this as quickly as possible. This is not gonna go away. It's only gonna get worse if we don't get control. The well will help, definitely. But you're still in problem. I know I've taken up a lot of your time, and I appreciate you allowing me to present it. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I think you all got my number at my office. Chris will be over here most of the time, more than me, but and he can answer any question that comes up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. The mayor just asked me what we were just discussing, that's this condition of the deeds for the well. We approached the Boys and Girls Club. We had a long meeting with them and they got back with the mayor. In the engineering plans, what it showed was we need a 30 by 30 tract of land. 30 by 30, which is 900 square feet. The Boys and Girls Club told us that they'll sell it to us for $25,000, plus an adjustment to their water bill, plus maintaining their fields. Now, there are 43,560 square feet an acre, and we're only talking about 900 square feet. So if you do the math on that, that's approximately $1.2 million an acre. But that's the offer right now. And so the mayor's going to continue to negotiate, but I need your authority to go ahead and proceed with an eminent domain against them because time is of the essence.
Second. The second motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Etherly?
Yes.
Ms. Miller? Yes. Ms. Davis? Yes. Dr. Miller? Ms. Harris and Mr. St. Columbia are still absent.
Now, also, I prepared a resolution tonight. Last week, as an update, we were there with the Department of Health. We had a hearing regarding the consent administrative order. This resolution addresses 4 consent administrative orders. The mayor has previously provided them all to you, but we need approval just to show that you all have received them, that you acknowledge them. ADQ, well, what used to be ADQ, Department of Energy and Environment, this Department of Environmental Quality Division. We have 2 consent administrative orders with them. One is relating to the water utility. The other is related to the landfill. There are 2 relating to the Department of Health. Department of Health, we had a hearing on a consent administrative order for the West Helena system and for the Helena system. And one of the things of note about it, after the hearing the other day, what they told us is that the full board is going to take up the consent administrative order on July 25th. The order has 90-day milestones in it for you to be aware of. And part of it is we need to have an engineer within 90 days of them approving the order. And the other thing is we have to have people with all the licenses within 90 days of the entry of the order. And so we need to advertise for people to have all the licenses, and we probably need more than one person, because the consent administrative order also says that what you have to stay in compliance for a year. Now, there's some hefty fines in it. They proposed about approximately $750,000 in fines. Some of them have been waived already because of some compliance issues that we've proved to them that we've complied with. But it's still very, I believe it was $450,000 is what they were asking for. But all of that is waivable if we comply with the consent administrative order from the Department of Health. And the 2 major milestones are, 1, having an engineer, and the engineer has to draw a plan to give to the Department of Health. 2, to have people with all the requisite licenses for the department. There have been some communication issues in the past. What happened, and the mayor and the chief of staff and I have met about it. During the Smith administration, there was a consent administrative order signed
It was never presented to the city council, never presented. I don't know if the mayor ever saw it, but he signed it and started a clock ticking. And some of the things we're not aware of, but we've gotten to this point where we have to have an engineer and we have to have people licensed. And I recommend that more than one person have the requisite license, because if you fall out of compliance during the year, then the fines will be imposed on us. And so we need to advertise for the position. And it's one of those things that the chief of staff, the mayor, and I talked about when we were in Little Rock the other day. We have to look at the base pay, and we look at incentive to get the people who are there at the department to have the licenses and et cetera. We're not calling names, but there were some who have applied but never sat for the exam. There was others who have gotten licenses and gone forward and obtained license, but they don't have all the requisite license. But licenses are a major thing, because other than the time frame of Mr. Scroggins, Tony Scroggins, when the last year of the Mayor Smith's administration, from the time we had Benzine Collier, then we had a gap, and then you had Tony Scroggins, and we've had issues with people having the licenses. But we have to advertise, and people.
Is that Mr. Rhodes, he has those certificates. He's almost at the point of receiving the majority of his certifications.
At this point, yes, he has taken, and he would have some of, but he'll have half. They want someone to have the complete certifications for both.
I think he said he would be completed like within the next month or so.
I understand. One thing that they recommended in the hearing, and they said the transcript will be available after a while. They recommended that, listen, we need people, boots on the ground now, and we need you all to take this seriously. And we appreciate everything that Mr. Rhodes is doing. We pray that he continue to move forward with his licenses.
Mm-hmm.
We want to do that. We need an incentive plan to ensure that everybody over there move forward with their licenses. But what they're saying is, get this done yesterday. You all have kicked this can down the road too long. It needs to be done immediately. You need to advertise for people, get them done, get them employed within the next 90 days. Get you everybody, get you an engineer to have a plan submitted within 90 days. And that's basically what the hearing was about. We would have a couple of hours, but those are the issues that, were you about to say something, Chief of Staff?
Yeah, they call us over there to chew us out. That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
So the issues persisted for too long, and the license in particular that they want you to have in West Helena on the water side, I think that's called distribution. That's
right.
Level 2 license, and on the wastewater it's level 3. And Helena is level 3 for both, or
right.
it's the flip of that. It's one of them. It's level 3 on both, and the other one's level 2 and level 3.
I think you had it right. West Helena's 2 and 3.
And the packet we submitted to you all by the link and the hashtag has all of those documents. Andre got 2 notebooks laying up there. Has
right.
all of those documents in there. And one of the things that we're going to get with Mr. Rose so he can get with his guys to address is we got too many people communicating with the health department without bringing people into the loop. And some of it, I think, is they're thinking the health department can help them. And the health department, when they're talking to us, is looking at like, why you got this renegade employee? But you'll see it in the documents. They complain to the health department about trucks not being able to go home, about being accused of stealing time and stuff like that they sent to the health department. That's not something for the health department to manage. But it's in the documents. You can see it in those.
Right.
So
the scan you received Friday had all that in it, and we just want to go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry.
They were on us about a couple of things. They said that we need 3 people. You need a general manager at $100,000. You need 2 people at $50,000 each.
that's the operators, one for each system.
Right. So they were saying if we complied to everything, that these fines would be waived. And as you heard Mr. Sternberg say, that we need to do a rate increase. We need to get contractors back on the ground to get this water system from failing. I'm glad somebody from the outside has kind of came inside to tell us what should be done, because hearing it from us is like, oh, it ain't that bad, but it is. They also got on us about the buildings, or these pump stations and the building where the water treatment is. They're saying how you can look in it and see it from the inside to the outside.
Yeah,
Those buildings need to be repaired. No, I mean, there's a lot, we have a lot of problems. And when I was on the city council, I kept saying that, you know, when I would go out and look at the West Helena plant, you could see the doors have came from separate from the foundation. I mean, the wall, you can just push the door. We have to raise rates. We have to get a better water system because I feel like this when I was on the city council, me, Mr. Anthony, the people who were here, Ms. Davis, we raised water rates only a little because I didn't know the details of how bad our water system is. And I encourage the council, these outside people can tell y'all something, but you have a voice, you can go out to these plants, go out and look and see how these buildings are falling down. Just look at how can you have a $250 piece of equipment in a machine, in a building that is raining in? You know, I mean, you know, you gotta look at it, you maintain your house. And where the equipment is, we have to maintain these buildings. These leaks, I hope you all have heard and take heed to these leaks. So we gotta start contacting these contractors, getting them back on the ground. We just got our warning tonight. If we don't do something tonight, we'll be in the same situation. You just heard Mr. Ether, one of our own, sit here and he has to get his water from Barton Lexington. Been getting it for a while. We have, I mean, hold on, Mr. Man. We have too many distractions with these people on Facebook contacting y'all, telling you a bunch of foolishness. But right now, where are they? Where were they? Where are they right now when we got these water issues? Everybody hides out, give you a petition, and tell you the sense of the mayor, but they ain't here right now in these issues. Forget my personal life. Let's handle these issues with this water because people cannot be without water. I want the same action we took a couple weeks ago. Let's take this action and make sure we get these contractors and raise these water rates because I'm not going to be the person on the front line saying, oh, I didn't do nothing. I'm asking y'all to take action tonight to move swiftly. I mean, I wish you could move. I would like to see y'all move right now, increasing water rates, getting contractors back in, approving what they asked us in Little Rock to do with hiring a general manager $100,000, 2 operators at $50,000. I know, Ms. Miller, it seems hard, but these are the things that we got to do. We're gonna have raising rates. Mr. Sternberg said you hate to jump a big jump, but right now we have kicked the can down the road. It hurts. It's gonna hurt my mom. It's gonna hurt me. But when energy went up, I paid. When Summit came in here and cut all the gas lines and put new gas lines into these houses, we had to pay for it. Same thing. That's the same problem we have. We have leaking pipes because no one has came in. You got a house that we've tore down, right? Water still runs to that house. So, but if you go back and look at what Summit did, Summit is the gas company here. When they took over CenterPoint, they came in and cut all old lines and ran you new lines to your gas meter so that all these other abandoned houses no longer had gas. That's the same thing we have to do with our water system. Run new water lines and cut off old water lines. You'll start cutting off more of your leaks then. Am I right? Yes. So we have to get ready. I mean, I know some of us getting ready to go for re-election, but guess what? Let's go down with something. Let's go down with that we trying to fix the problem in health.
And I understand those suggested salaries, and I don't really have a problem with that. I think from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, though, the person that we hired as the superintendent of the water department, then he has an administrative piece that's being financially done. You know, he has a salary and then this person has that. And that sort of brings it to that 100. I can see where that makes some sense. And if we're honestly going to go out there and we're going to advertise, vet the candidates, make sure that they're fully licensed and all that, okay, I can see that amount of money with the understanding that we pare down with the administrative help that he's getting and perhaps, wait for him to get his license and maybe move him up or something like that. I mean, what I'm saying is
Cause he's almost there.
he's almost
He's
there.
almost, he's
So-
almost.
And I understand he's almost there, but they're
Hold
telling
on,
like,
hold on,
like
hold on,
weeks.
hold on. Y'all shouldn't be discussing an employee.
right, my thing is,
Two things that I want to bring up.
Mhm.
I think you all are putting the cart before the horse. The issue that we have to do is, we have to move forward, get the advertisement done, and have the finances to go ahead and say, we need to hire this person, hire this engineer, and go forward and do that. We can later come to those things. I think the thing is, when the suggested salary the mayor's talking about, he's trying to give you ballpark about what do people with the license make? What does a general manager make? And those are generalities that he's stating.
Mhm.
But as it relates to specifically, the specifics are, we need an engineer within 90 days, we need people with the license within 90 days. And we can go from there. And as it relates to discussing any other employee that we have now, as they obtain license, they'll be great. But the issue is this: time is of the essence. We got to move. It isn't a question of us waiting to see, but the city had to move, because the one thing about it is, we don't need to be in a position where we're haggling over 10,000 or 20,000 and end up fined 450,000.
and
That's, if, I encourage you all to read these. These are very thorough. One is Helena, one is West Hall. You all provided these last week. I encourage you to read them so you can see they went detail by detail with a timeline. They went detail with things. And a lot of this stuff, in candor to you, the city council was never informed about.
Right.
I, city attorney, wasn't informed about many of these things because they were just signed in-house, sent to the state, and there was no importance given to them. So certified letter came in, person that was there signed it,
Right.
sent it back. You never heard about it.
Right.
That's part of the reason why we have a resolution here, and we encourage you all to make sure you've been provided all four consent administrative orders. We want to make sure that you have them, you've read them, so we can discuss them, come forward, and every meeting going forward over the next year, the water department has to be discussed. Every-
And I'm not trying to cut you off. I just want you to understand my point. I'm not arguing
No,
or
no.
disagreeing. Here's the thing. I want to make sure, because we've been paying big salaries for these positions. I'm saying as not just a city council person, but I'm saying as a member of this community. If this is what we're going to do and this is what we're aiming for, then I just want to make sure that we're fully vetting who we're getting, that they're qualified, they've got all the licensure they're supposed to have, they can do all of the administrative work they're supposed to do, all the reports, that we don't have these that are late or signed illegibly or whatever else happened. I'm saying we need somebody who can do that job. That's just my point.
I agree with you. I mean,
And one other thing, I think the way the city attorney presented that, he said you all didn't get it. This actually predates this city council.
Right.
right,
So
I'm
the
sorry.
former city council people didn't get
Right.
it. That's what that's who
And
he's.
the timeline, they go through, and they were talking in 2019. It had nothing to do with you all. And so it was,
So that's not, Mr. Rose has not failed to communicate with y'all.
Oh, I know.
Right.
And I haven't, and Mr. Murdoch didn't,
What-
it's before then.
what-
That's what those things are about.
Well, I'm gonna say this, the $100,000 came from the people in Little Rock. And the governor also said to us that we would not get any assistance with our rates being this low. It kind of bothers me that I've been saying this since I met with the governor, that she's saying that we will get no financial assistance from her office until we raise our rates. So they're saying the $100,000 didn't come from a number I put. I said, oh, no. It can't, the people in Little Rock said, this is what it's gonna take. You need 2 licensed operators at $50,000 a piece. What, no, it's, if you go right there.
Well,
hold on, Mr. Bailey.
One second, we paying more than that now, but go ahead.
Right. But if you go right down there to Barton Lakes of Water, we're bigger than Barton. They pay more than what we pay. You go right down to Mariana, they pay. Our folks, the folks that we hired, everybody they went to Mariana. I mean, when you think about energy, what the salary they pay for energy, which no question they mess with your power lines. The same with police, fire, and water. water is very important. If the system failed tonight, they don't, the lady didn't come to your house to jump on you about water. She came to mine to jump on me about her water. Those are the things that I go through. So I think when people in this community talk about, sitting in this mayor seat is a horse of another color. I wouldn't imagine all the foolishness and things that happen sitting in this seat. That when I said what you all said, I thought that Kevin, it was a joke, and I see what Kevin Smith went through sitting here. That it is. Then you got a council that you have to kind of, because the public can say this and that, and they don't trust you. But here I'm telling you facts in black and white. This is what it is. This is what we need to do. I'm saying when the resolution was put out about something personal with me, we voted on it. Let's get the same votes and the action on this water tonight, so that our folks can have water and increase the rates. This, when we went to Little Rock and got, I was embarrassed to sit there and these folks chewed me out, and I knew nothing. I sit on the city council for 12 years and I knew nothing, none of this. While the guy was on the fish bank fishing, we was getting considered administrative orders. I'm still telling y'all, I got a guy on the fish bank fishing, and your water in the toilet. You got billions of gallons of water that we're losing. And it's okay. Now, there's leaks all over. We got contracts ready to go to work. We got to find something to do. And one thing I don't want to lose is water again. So whatever we need to do, I tell you, I'm going to take the needle in the arm with you. Let's make a move. So there's a motion to start taking care of some of these issues that we have.
Well, we have to pass the rates by ordinance. So I have to prepare ordinance to bring that back for the rates. But at the same time, we can move forward. But we've done request for qualifications for the engineer. At this point, what this council seriously looking at is when the mayor goes out and we advertise for these people with the licenses, to be prepared to discuss a serious salary and give them the salary, because the issue is going to be is we have to do that with expediency. Of course, you have 90 days, but the problem is we can't wait till the last moment, and we don't know how long the system has, being candid with you. None of us know how long the system has, and we need boots on the ground.
And we're trying to get some of this stuff done, so when the board meets, they can see we kind of jumpstart. We got 25-day jumpstart before they meet at the end of this month.
July 25th.
Right. So we got to get a jump start to show them that we're doing the things that we're doing. Yes, I'm telling you, I'm feel the same pressure you feel. I feel it. Right now, we got to show the public. I understand that we don't have it, but we got to make a way. We got to make a way. Nobody's gonna come here when our water is in the situation. We got a hospital. If the hospital doesn't have water, we out. Yeah. If these industrial parks don't have water, but most importantly, our customers need water. We need to take advantage of these opportunities that we got. So if we have to meet again this week or after the 4th, I'll be happy. We need to move quickly. And I'm gonna tell you this, with the people that we look, I encourage two of the city council members who want to be on looking for these people. I welcome you on that, because I don't want you all to feel like, because I think a lot of Facebook people get some of our people scared about what we're doing, but I include anybody who wants to be a part of this with the chief of staff.
You should have one.
One.
You can have more than one, but one at each interview, or you got to bring the press.
Right. So one of each. So I'm just saying.
I think they're saying. I think you got to bring the press, but he has just one. They just updated.
No, that's the item they're putting on the ballot in November. Right? That's not the current law.
That's correct. That's the item they put on.
That's the proposal for November.
I just wanted to be able to trust with you all, so we can see where we're going, especially this body, because I know y'all get a lot of hit about what we're trying to do in this community. But listen, the door's open. I've said it once before. The mayor's office is open. You can come by letter, candidate, visit, whatever you want to do. My office is open to everybody in this public, in this community, because we're trying to show people that we need one thing: clean drinking water, so we can make sure that we attract industry to come here. Water.
Mayor Franklin, I really do think that you do care about the functional maintenance of our water department. I do believe that. I'd like to be, kind of find out, who you're looking at and all that. It may not be my business. That's fine. I do agree. I think Mr. Sternberg made a great presentation. I think it was very clear to me that this is the route we're going to have to go. I mean, it's a painful bite. It's a bullet. It's going to hurt, but I don't know that we have much of a choice. I don't want our water to go down again. That's a horrible thought. It's a horrible thought.
And Ms. Miller, I'd be happy that we can start having we start listening sessions to start letting the community know what is going on. Because everybody's not on YouTube, no, everybody's on the radio. We might have to have a town hall meeting and just let them listen to what we just gathered. Because a lot of people say, well, I couldn't make it. So we got to start putting something in the paper. We got to start advertising what's going on in this community. Because one thing I've learned, if you tell them, if we all band together and tell them what's going on in the community, they may think I'm lying, but they don't think Ms. Miller, Dr. Miller, Mr. Ether, Ms. Davis, Ms. Harris, and Ms. St. Clement, you're getting all the same thing for the same people. So they can't be lying. It's got to be true. Then you have it in black and white. So some of this stuff that we got tonight, we need to publish and show people what's going on. We have to open up the door and let folks know we come through the front door with all the pieces that we got. All the pieces.
Well, what do we need to do tonight, Attorney Valley, Mayor?
Well,
What do we need?
We
to
don't
do?
have an ordinance. I was asking Mr. Ethelred, and while Mayor Franklin was speaking, I was saying, poll you all, see if y'all available tomorrow.
We won't be. My
Y'all won't
brother
be?
and I won't be.
Yeah, we'll be out of town.
Y'all be out of town tomorrow?
I mean, unless we can do it by Zoom or something like that. No.
No, we can't do it by Zoom.
Could we vote on
What time y'all leaving tomorrow?
6 in.
Oh,
Can we vote on something? Can we vote on something tonight with the intention of getting it done? Because I want them to know everything that we're doing.
What are you trying to vote on tonight?
he wants the race adopted tonight is what he was trying to do.
Yeah, you need to draft the ordinance and let them look at it. Let this soak in. We can meet probably Tuesday of next week, because this is a holiday week.
Tuesday's fine with the body?
Tuesday.
And while we getting that done, we need to try to make sure that anything else that needs to be done, I want them to have every information, all the information that's needed. And hopefully when the treasurer get back, we can sit down.
Now, on the race study, Mr. Sternberg may have said this tonight, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But what he told us in Lone Oak is that you can go above it, but you can't go below what he put in the rate study. So those numbers, whatever that base is what you're gonna have to do.
Mr. Sternberg.
Let me make a comment, talk about passing rates tonight. State law, water, you can pass water rates. State law says you gotta have a public hearing on what, sewer and wastewater.
That's right.
So I caution you, you
Okay.
can't do sewer until you have a public hearing.
Right,
Now, you have to do it based on the rate study findings.
right.
And advertise it. I think it's 10 days, it has
Yeah,
to
it's
be.
10,
in
it's 10 days
I'm
advertised.
not an attorney, but I do know that.
Yeah,
So thank you, Mr. Sternberg. So we can go and get this advertisement in the paper.
well, first you gotta decide when you wanna have a public hearing. Is it,
I would imagine we would do it before your city council meeting. So then that would be the one on the 16th.
right,
I guess that's the date. I can't think of it. 14 days from today.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
But the question is, the practical question with that is, will that be enough time for publication? Cause I don't think it'll be publicized till next week.
I don't know.
They don't run the paper on Wednesdays.
Well, okay. We just have to look at that.
I believe it has to be published twice.
We have to look at that.
No.
Wednesday the ninth at 6 to do your water rate.
Did you want to do water and sewer at once?
We could just do them both at once.
Okay,
So then you gotta go out further,
okay.
to like 21st. Whatever, 16 and 17.
What's 3 weeks from that?
23rd, maybe?
Mhm.
I don't know the date. So it's 2 plus 21, what that is.
23rd.
Can we meet on 23rd to adopt both? I mean, we can. That should give time to publish it twice. It's more than 10 days and.
So we can say that one for the public hearing and the rate study on the 23rd. Typically, you do it at 5:30. and then your meeting follows at 6. Or the meeting follows when the public hearing ends. What you say, Doctor?
What was that date?
The 23rd.
Nothing, that's the
It's
public,
3 weeks from today.
public hearing.
Yeah, the public hearings for the rate study and sewer rates. The sewer rate portion of it. then.
While we're waiting to discuss it, there's a resolution before you that was waiting to the full certificate of, not certificate, consent administrative orders. I detailed them in section 1. There's one relating to landfill that was signed by the mayor on 6/10/2024. The LIS number 24, permit number 0258-S1-R1 AFIN 54000086. It consists of 10 pages. There's a second one, the CAO directed to the water utility, signed by Mayor Franklin on 6/12/24 concerning LIS number 23, permit number AR 00433389, AFIN number 54-00086. It consists of 24 pages. That's a consent administrative order directed to the City of Helena Water and Sewer dated March 1st, 2024, signed by Mayor Franklin on 5/28/24 concerning a CAO 2402419 and an order and notice of hearing and proposed administrative penalty of hashtag NOHPP 2406419 consists of 19 pages, and the hearing was conducted on June 26, 2024. And the fourth was a consent administrative order directed to West Helena Water Works dated March 1st, 2024, signed by Mayor Franklin on 5/28/2024 concerning CAO CO 2402416 and an order and notice of hearing and proposed administrative penalty on hashtag N0HPP 2406416 consisting of 21 pages, and the hearing conducted on June 26, 24. I placed them all in one resolution because you all previously been providing them, but the resolution is ratifying the mayor executing them, and that the council fully acknowledges that it received them and wants to comply with.
Is there a motion to adopt?
What resolution number is this?
10?
You said number 10.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt.
Ms. Miller moves to adopt resolution number 10. Mrs. Davis second the motion. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Hey,
Ms. Miller.
just point of question. This is to vote for the rate increase?
No,
So it's just,
This is just telling the Department of
Health.
Health and the Arkansas
Department,
Energy and
Environmental.
Environmental Department that we have received the consent administrative order. The mayor has provided them to you all, and you all authorized him to sign them. He's already signed them, but they wanted a secondary note that
They
the
want to
council.
make sure that the
Right,
council saw it.
right.
Because there's some expenses associated with complying. That's part of the reason you need to know. Like the equipment you authorize the landfill to get is part of that consent administrative order. So,
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Etherly,
Yes.
Dr. Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Davis, 4 yes, 2 absent.
now, your agenda was just for the water rate study tonight. You have some agendas that haven't been addressed, and we need to figure out when you want to meet to address those. And I believe Ms. Miller may have had a question she wanted to address before we leave tonight.
I think the officers are here. Can we have? Aren't the officers?
Are they here?
I think they were.
I want to pause for a second before you all take up anything relating to the officers.
Mhm.
I want to remind you that Marcus Mr. Lee desires for, well, you're not desired, you're ordered to be in Little Rock on Monday, the 8th.
Okay.
For a settlement conference in the case.
Oh, okay. Is it related to the officers?
No, it's not related to the officers. But I think one of the things about it is, I think we need to wait to discuss anything about the officers after you go to that settlement conference.
Okay. This is. Now, which settlement conference, is this related to the, against the county?
It's related to the city. It is Barbara Marshall versus Bobby Jones and the city of Helena-West.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and what happens if we cannot make it?
But we're ordered to be there. And the judge, that's why they called to see, make sure that everybody, they were supposed to be called everyone. The Arkansas Municipal League represents the city on that. And they were trying to see that we have a quorum available to be there. Because
Can they do it via phone like they did last time?
don't know, but I know they wanted a quorum there at the, in Little Rock.
What time is it?
I believe it was at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock.
Do we have it? I can probably make it.
I would call him today to see if he could appear by phone.
Yeah, if we could possibly by Zoom or something like that.
I would have them check on it.
What time we did on the phone? Remember when we did our phone? Are you on? Don, can you be there?
I'm sorry.
Can you be there?
Yeah, I'll be.
Okay. I can be there. I mean, that's two people. Oh, yeah, I can do that.
I don't know who I'll be there, but the Municipal League called all of us the other day, tried to call all of us. But as it relates to that, until you hear the discussion relating to the other, we'll probably delay in discussion relating to the officers.
And before we adjourn, I want to tell you all this. I know we got a tough road ahead of us, but I want you all to be with me. I'll be with you all on this road. I know it seems hard. I know it's some things that hadn't been done in the past. We can't go back and change the past. But we got to make this a better Helena for the people that's going to come after we leave. We got babies. We got young folks. We're here to make decisions that's best for this community. And I know it hurts. My mom, who's 70 years old and on fixed income, a lot of folks in there on fixed income. But we got to look at what's best for Helena. If we do our part and show them that we're trying to make it better, who knows, by us working together doing this, what business can land in our lap. They have to see us working together in spite of it all. We need water, and we want our city to stay functional. We want everybody to have the necessary needs in this community. We have to go through this together. I'll roll up my sleeve and take the needle in the arm with you because it's going to be painful, but we have to do it. And I want you all to see the finance and everything that comes with it. I want you all to know that we're in this together. I'm not going to say what they did, we did. It's collective effort. So I want you all to know that whatever decision we make them together as a team. I don't want you all to be out in the dark. If you want to be on interviews or whatever we do, we're going to do this together. Because when it's all said and done, I want y'all to say, he did work with us. He didn't fight when he resisted. I want to work with you all to make this community better. By that being said, Mr. Valley.
If I mention one thing, if you all want further to be participating in the process he's inviting you in, you all can go in executive session for hiring, firing, promotion, and demotion. So if you got to the point where you all want to discuss it within the body, you all can feel free to do that. And that wouldn't be a violation of FOI.
Because I want y'all to trust me on this, trust the decision we make together. That being said, meeting adjourned.